What if I told you that nearly 40% of all suspicious deaths in heavy metal bands are linked to planned acts and deadly encounters? From the haunting betrayal of Fabio Tollis' own bandmates to the shocking silence around Matt Kupa's tragic death, here are 20 heavy metal musicians who tragically died by homicide. 1. Dimebag Darrell. Dimebag Darrell was a guitar god. His fingers moved like lightning, and his riffs were loud, heavy, and full of life. He made Pantera sound like a thunderstorm. He didn't just play metal, he was metal. Fans loved him. His music hit hard and gave people something real to hold on to. But one night, everything went horribly wrong. He was on stage, doing what he loved. The crowd was screaming, the music was loud, and then shots. Out of nowhere, a man in the audience pulled a gun and started shooting. Dimebag was hit. He fell. He never got back up. People screamed. Some ran. Some froze. It was like a nightmare. But this wasn't a dream. It was real. Dimebag was gunned down in front of everyone. The man who shot him said he was angry about Pantera breaking up. That's it. That was the reason. One twisted reason took a great man away. No warning, no mercy, just death on stage with his guitar still hanging from his shoulder. And here's the scary part. He wasn't just taken out. He was hunted like prey. In front of his band, in front of fans, in front of the world. It wasn't just an execution, it was a message. A loud, ugly message. Even heroes can be taken, and fast. How do you go back to normal after that? After Dimebag died, metal changed. It lost some of its fire. People were scared. Bands started thinking twice about being close to fans. Security changed. Stages changed. The music? It still roared, but something was missing. The joy, maybe, or the safety, maybe both. Dimebag's death wasn't just tragic, it was unfair, and it should never have happened. 2. Euronymous. Euronymous wasn't just part of black metal. He was black metal. Dark clothes, dark music, dark ideas. He helped create the band Mayhem. He wanted the music to be scary, raw, and real. But the world he built became too real, too fast. The danger wasn't just in the lyrics, it was in the people. And one of those people was Varg Vikernes. Varg played in the band Burzum. At first, he and Euronymous were friends, or something like it, but their friendship turned sour. Jealousy, anger, power, all of it got mixed up. One day, Varg went to visit Euronymous. He brought a knife. 23 times he stabbed him. 23. Over and over again. The pain must have been horrible. Euronymous tried to run, but he didn't make it. Blood on the floor. Life gone. Varg said he was scared. He said he was defending himself. But come on. 23 stabs? That's not fear. That's rage. That's hate. Why didn't anyone stop it? How did the music go so far off the rails? After Euronymous died, the black metal scene exploded. Some people called him a hero. Others said he had it coming. Fans took sides. Music turned into madness. The scene became darker, scarier, more twisted. His death was like a switch. Things weren't fun or edgy anymore. They were deadly. Euronymous once said he wanted to shock people. He wanted fear. But did he want this? Did he know his ideas would end with him on the floor, bleeding? Was it worth it? Or did the scene eat him alive? 3. Andrea Meyer. Andrea Meyer wasn't like the others. She wasn't just about loud guitars or scary makeup. She was an artist, a writer, a thinker. She believed in old magic and deep, dark ideas. She didn't scream into microphones. She whispered things that made you feel something. Her music was haunting and strange. It wasn't about noise. It was about mood, about mystery. But her death? That was pure horror. One day in Norway, a young man went on a rampage. He had a bow and arrows. Yes, real arrows, like in the Middle Ages. He ran through the streets, shooting people. Andrea was one of them. She didn't get a chance to run. She didn't get to fight back. She was taken down in cold blood by a stranger with old weapons and twisted thoughts. Why did this happen to her? Andrea's death was shocking, not just because of how it happened, but because of who she was. She wasn't in the spotlight. She wasn't on stage. She lived quietly, creating beauty in dark corners. But even that wasn't enough to protect her. Her death reminded everyone that you don't have to be loud to be noticed, and you don't have to be famous to be in danger. The black metal world felt her loss deeply. She wasn't loud, but she mattered. Her voice, soft as it was, had power, and now that voice is gone. 4. Rhett Forrester. Rhett Forrester had a voice that could break glass and a style that made people stare. He was the lead singer of Riot, a heavy metal band from the 80s. Rhett wasn't just some guy with a mic, he was fired on stage. He had long hair, tight jeans, and a voice that roared louder than a motorcycle. When he sang, crowds went wild. He looked like trouble, and he sang like it too. But Rhett didn't die on stage. He didn't go out with fireworks or fans screaming his name. No, he died alone on a street in Atlanta. One night, someone tried to steal his car. Rhett fought back. He was tough, but he didn't stand a chance against a gun. He was shot and left to die like he was no one. This wasn't just sad, it was brutal. A man who gave everything to music was taken out like trash. Rhett still had that powerful voice. He still had songs in him. But one moment, one pull of a trigger, and everything ended. Can you imagine that? A heavy metal legend gunned down like it meant nothing? No goodbye, no last song, just sirens and silence. And people moved on. That's the worst part. The world forgot too fast. Rhett wasn't in the news for long. His death didn't shake the music world the way it should have. But for fans, his voice still echoes. You can still feel his fire if you listen close enough. 5. Peter P. Fluid Forrest. Peter Forrest, also called P. Fluid, was not like other singers. He didn't stick to one style. He mixed metal, punk, funk, and soul like no one else. With 24/7 Spies, he broke rules and tore down walls. He made music for people who didn't fit in. His voice was sharp, loud, and full of fight. Peter didn't want fame. He wanted change. He wanted to shake things up. And he did. He gave people a sound that was wild and fresh. His band made people talk, dance, and think. But then, just like that, he was gone. He didn't die in a crash. He wasn't sick. He was slain. The kind of slaying that feels personal, angry, and messy. His body showed signs of a beating. There were arrests, yes. But was there justice? Who knows? Peter deserved more. He was a fighter. He was a builder. He was one of the first black men in heavy music to stand up and say, "This is mine too." But the world didn't give him peace. And his death? It wasn't loud. It was quiet. Too quiet. People didn't talk about it enough, but we should, because Peter's life meant something, and his death should mean something too. 6. Fabio Tollis. Fabio Tollis was a teenager in Italy who loved black metal. He played in a band. He wore black clothes, eyeliner, and spikes. He dreamed of becoming a star in the dark, scary world of extreme music. He believed in the music, in the power, in the family that came with being in a band. But that family turned on him. Fabio wasn't taken out by a stranger. He was taken out by his own bandmates. These were people he laughed with, ate with, made music with, and they stabbed him. Then they buried him alive. They said it was for Satan, a ritual, a sacrifice. This wasn't a movie. This wasn't fake. It really happened. One night they took him out, tricked him, and executed him in the most horrifying way. Can you feel that? The betrayal, the pain? Fabio was young. He thought black metal was just about music, darkness, and style. He didn't know it would turn real. He didn't know that trusting the wrong people could cost him everything. When the police found out, it was too late. Fabio was already gone. And his attackers, they weren't monsters. They were kids, lost kids playing with fire. This shook the whole country. Italy couldn't believe it. The metal scene couldn't believe it. Suddenly, everyone was scared. Was this music just music? Or was there something evil hiding in it? Fabio's parents never gave up. They searched. They pushed. They kept asking questions. And they got answers. Terrible ones. But at least they knew. Now, every time someone puts on corpse paint or screams into a mic, a shadow follows. Fabio's shadow. Because he reminds us that music can be powerful. But people can be dangerous. 7. Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers played guitar like it was his way to talk to God. He was part of a Christian metalcore band called Onward to Olympus. Their music was loud, fast, and full of shouting about faith, sin, and finding light in dark places. Steve wasn't just making noise, he was trying to save souls through music. He played with heart, talked about hope, and tried to lift people up. He died in a fight, not some epic battle on stage, but a messy, real-life argument. It got loud, it got heated. Then someone pulled out a gun. In just a few seconds, everything stopped. Steve was shot and left bleeding right there. Gone. Just like that. A man who preached peace and faith, gunned down in the most brutal way. Isn't that cruel? He gave his life to music that tried to do good. And how did the world repay him? With bullets, with pain. His fans couldn't believe it. They lit candles, cried, and blasted his songs in the dark. But nothing brought him back. One moment he was sharing his faith. The next, he was lying cold on the ground, a cross around his neck, blood on his shirt. It hits hard, doesn't it? A man trying to guide others gets taken out by the very brutality he stood against. The music he made, the words he screamed, they still echo, but now they sound like warnings, like broken prayers. 8. Yevgeny Zhenya Nazarenko. Zhenya was the heartbeat of God's tower. He didn't just play bass, he made the earth shake. His sound was slow, heavy, and full of shadows. People said his music felt like walking through a graveyard. He didn't smile much, didn't talk a lot, but when he hit those strings, it was like telling ghost stories through metal. He was big in Eastern Europe. Fans came from all over to feel that deep, doom-filled noise. It was dark, sad, and honest. Zhenya made you feel every note, but off stage, things got darker. Yevgeny was in a bar, just a regular night. People were drinking, laughing. Then something went wrong. A fight started. Words turned into yelling. Yelling turned into fists. And then someone took it too far, way too far. Zhenya ended up on the floor, not breathing, left dead, in a bar where he just wanted to relax. Can you imagine? The man who made death sound like poetry was taken down in real life. Not on stage, not in a story, but for real. No lights, no crowd, just blood on the floor and silence after. His fans were crushed. Some said they saw it coming, like his songs were warning signs. Others said it made no sense. But here's the truth. Doom followed him. It lived in his music. It took him. That heavy sound wasn't just art. It was a shadow he couldn't shake. Now his bass is quiet. His stage is empty. But his music, still playing, still haunting, still reminding us that darkness doesn't always stay in the songs. 9. Sakis Kalogeropoulos. Sakis was different. He didn't want to sound like everyone else. He was part of a Greek band called 6 for 9. Their music was weird in a good way. It had layers, twists, big emotions. People were starting to notice him. They said he was going to take progressive metal somewhere new, somewhere wild. But all those dreams, they ended not on stage, not in a car crash, not even from substances. No, it was something way more stupid, way more unfair. He got into a fight with his neighbor. Just a simple argument, something about noise, or trash, or maybe just bad moods. No one even remembers the reason. But the result? The neighbor snapped, lost control, and stabbed him to death. That's right, taken in his own home. Over something so small, it's almost too dumb to believe. A man with a future, with music inside him, silenced forever by someone who couldn't handle a fight. Think about it. This wasn't fate. This wasn't the road. This was just bad luck, bad timing. A man in the wrong place at the wrong time. His band was crushed. His family? Shattered. And the metal scene lost a voice that could have changed everything. It's not just sad, it's angry, it's insulting. Sakis had songs to write, he had ideas to share, he had fans move, but all that, gone just like that, all because someone couldn't calm down. 10. Matt Kupa. Matt Kupa never got the chance to grow old. He never stood on a big stage with lights flashing or fans cheering. He didn't retire in peace. No, his life ended fast, rough, and without warning. He was slain in a street fight in Poland. One minute he was alive, walking in the night. The next, he was gone, just like that. No cameras, no crowd, only silence. Matt played in a band called Deformity. Their music was loud, wild, and scary to most people, but for some, it was everything. It was real, it was painful, it was true. They played death metal, the kind that hits like a punch to the chest, the kind that doesn't care about being famous or rich. It only cares about being raw and honest. Matt lived deep in the underground scene, far from the spotlight. That place is dark, hard, and full of people fighting to be heard. But sometimes it eats its own. Matt was one of them. He gave his heart to the music. He gave his nights to the band. But Matt gave his life in a dirty fight with no winner. Who was he fighting? Why did it happen? No one tells you. No one even asks. Where are the news stories? Where are the tributes? Matt didn't get a statue. He didn't get a song on the radio. He just vanished. But those who loved the music, those who knew the weight of every scream, still remember, still feel the punch, still ask why. 11. Alexander Sasha Perov. Alexander Perov, or Sasha as people called him, had metal in his blood. He played in a band called Black Obelisk. They were big in Russia during the 90s when things were rough. The country was changing. It was full of chaos, fear, and confusion. Sasha didn't just sing, he fought with his voice. Every song was a battle cry. But sometimes, even warriors fall when they least expect it. One night, Sasha was caught in a robbery. Someone wanted his stuff, and they took his life instead. Just like that. No last song. No last words. He died on the floor while the world kept turning. He wasn't rich. He wasn't safe. He was just a man trying to keep metal alive in a place where dreams are hard to find. Russia didn't protect him. The music couldn't save him. And justice? It never came. His name was added to a list, a cold report, and nothing more. Another metal soldier lost in the fog. But listen, if you play one of their old songs, you might still hear him. He screams from deep inside the sound. He never left completely. Why does the fight to keep the music alive end in silence? 12. Steve Kane. Steve Kane had fire in his lungs and fury in his words. He was the lead singer of Critical Chaos, a thrash band from the U.S. Their music was fast, wild, and full of rage. It wasn't for everyone, but for those who loved it, it was life. Steve didn't play for fame. He sang for the broken, the angry, and the lost. His band didn't fill stadiums, but they filled hearts. They were real, they were raw, and Steve was the center of it all. Then one day, everything ended in a nightmare. Steve was found dead in his own home. The person who took him down? His own wife. The news was shocking, like a hammer to the chest. It wasn't just Steve who died, it was his family, too. A deadly act that left a hole no one could fill. The metal world was left gasping. Fans were silent. Friends were broken. The pain wasn't just in the lyrics anymore. It was in real life, bleeding through the walls. Steve had screamed about chaos. He sang about darkness, but no one thought it would come for him like this. Why do the ones who give us strength fall the hardest? 13. Andres Hades Adasme. Andres Adasme, known by the name Hades, wasn't just a guy screaming into a mic. He was fired. Real fire. The kind that burns long after it's gone. Hades was the soul of traditional heavy metal in Chile, pushing every limit, every wall, and never backing down. But then it happened. One day, someone ended his story with a knife, not a goodbye. A cold execution. His band, Lucifer's Hammer, confirmed it. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't fate. Someone wanted him gone, and they made it happen. In Chile, Hades was more than a singer. He was a storm, a voice of fire for a scene that kept getting ignored. He gave everything, knowing the world didn't care about guys like him. And when he was taken from us, the silence hit hard. No more growls, no more riffs, just pain. Just that dirty, awful feeling that the world had lost someone who mattered. People didn't stay quiet. Fans lit candles. Musicians cried out. The metal scene was shaking. With his death, it felt like someone tried to erase the whole movement. But guess what? Hades made noise in life, and he made even more in death. You can erase the man, but not the roar he left behind. His voice still screams through speakers, and his fight still burns in those who remember him. What kind of world stabs its own heroes? 14. Igor Jeff Anisimov. Igor Anisimov called Jeff had a fire in his guitar that could melt ice. He wasn't just another player. He was a metal pioneer in the Soviet Union, blasting through censorship and fear with his band Cruise. While others played safe, Jeff screamed the truth. He faced walls taller than buildings and still made his music roar. But even legends can't dodge every shadow. Jeff died by foul play, a crime still wrapped in mystery. No one really knows what happened. The stories are messy. The facts are few. What we do know is this: Jeff didn't die by accident. Someone took him out, someone who didn't want his voice to keep rising. His death wasn't just the end of a man. It was like cutting out a piece of metal history with a rusted blade. Jeff had survived everything: rules, bans, threats. But Igor didn't survive whoever was waiting in the dark. His guitar is silent now, but the echo stays. What do you do when a voice like that goes quiet? You remember. You blast his songs. You shout louder, because silence is the attacker's goal, and we're not giving them that. 15. Zoran Sharon Petrovich. Zoran Petrovich, or Sharon, was a storm with strings. He was the guitarist for Kraljevski Apartment, one of the fiercest metal bands in Serbia. You felt his music in your chest, but metal isn't always just music. Sometimes it's a fight. Sometimes it puts you right in the middle of danger. That's what happened to Sharon. He got into a fight with bikers. It wasn't a bar brawl. It wasn't some drunk shouting match. It turned deadly. Cruelty still lives in some places like a shadow that never leaves. Sharon stood tall in a rough world, but even he couldn't dodge the knife. His death was more than personal. It was like a warning painted in blood. Being loud, being bold, being different. Sometimes it costs you everything. He didn't want to die. He wanted to make noise. He wanted to keep tearing up stages with his guitar. But someone didn't care. Someone thought fists and blades should win. And they did, just for a moment. But guess what? You can't silence the music that loud. You can't stop a roar with a stab. Sharon's riffs live on, and every time someone hits play, it's another slap in the face to the ones who thought they could silence him. Why do the boldest lights always get snuffed out the fastest? 16. Igor Kuzya Kuznetsov. Igor Kuzya Kuznetsov didn't just play bass. He carved mayhem into every note with Korozia Metalla, one of Russia's most controversial thrash metal acts. These guys weren't exactly radio-friendly. The band thrived on shock value, edgy imagery, and enough chaos to raise eyebrows even in a country not known for subtlety. And Kuzya, he was right there in the eye of that storm, slapping strings like he was exorcising demons. But that chaos didn't just live on stage. Kuzya met his end not in some poetic rock star way, but as a victim of a brutal gang attack. No mystery, no romance, just pure street-level cruelty. The kind that doesn't end up in a glamorized biopic. It was savage, it was senseless, and it was a grim reflection of the very scene they used to embody. Raw, unfiltered, and always 5 seconds away from combustion. While Korozia Metalla kept roaring, Kuzya's blood on the pavement was a wake-up call. The metal scene in Russia wasn't just loud, it was dangerous, and sometimes it bit back. 17. Mick Hughes. Mick Hughes wasn't a household name, but in death metal circles, he was more than just another dude with a growl. Catalepsy wasn't playing arenas, but they were clawing their way through the UK's underground, making noise the way metalheads love, loud, messy, and unapologetically brutal. Then the silence hit. Mick was gone. No big headline, no neatly packaged story for the press. Just confirmation, found dead under suspicious circumstances. The details, still foggy. The band and close ones clammed up, and who could blame them? The whole thing reeked of something dark, maybe darker than any of their lyrics ever dared to touch. There was no dramatic final performance, no slow fade. One day, he was there, the next he wasn't. His death was the kind of thing that leaves a band gutted, not just emotionally, but creatively. And Catalepsy? They felt that void hard. Mick's guttural voice wasn't just sound, it was presence. And when that presence was snatched away, it felt like someone shattered the band, too. 18. Alex Soloviev. Alexei Alex Soloviev didn't need stage gimmicks or over-the-top theatrics to leave a mark. His voice alone could peel paint. As the frontman for Bestial Deform, he screamed his lungs out into the heart of Moscow's metal underworld, where fans didn't want pretty, they wanted primal. And Alex gave them just that, raw, unhinged, and absolutely feral. But the thing about being that real in a scene that thrives on extremes, sometimes the madness doesn't stop when the amps go cold. After one of his shows, Alex was attacked and taken, brutally, mercilessly. No symbolism, just cruelty, cold and hard. It wasn't just a tragedy, it was a statement. No matter how heavy your music is, the world can hit harder. His slaying ripped through the community like a jagged riff. Fans mourned, yes, but they also raged. Because Alex wasn't just another casualty. He was the guy who put his soul on stage every night, only to be cut down after the applause faded. In a world obsessed with toughness, his death proved something darker. Vulnerability isn't in the music, it's in the walk home afterward. 19. Rodrigo Contreras. Rodrigo Contreras was not your average metalhead. He didn't wear shiny suits or smile for the cameras. He was fire and steel. He played his guitar like it was a weapon, throwing sounds like sharp knives into the crowd. People didn't just listen to him, they felt him like a storm in their chest. He helped shape the world of thrash and death metal in Latin America, a place where loud music was more than music. It was survival. He was the heart of Criminal, a band that didn't care about being nice. They were raw, rough, and real. Rodrigo pushed the sound to the edge, always louder, always harder. Fans saw him as a warrior, not the kind with armor, but the kind with a guitar and fury. What happens when the storm you command turns around and hits you instead? One day the music stopped. No warning, no headlines with clear answers, just a short, sharp announcement. Rodrigo was dead, found lifeless after an attack. No names, no reason, just gone, like a power cord yanked out mid-song. His band confirmed it, but there was nothing more. The silence screamed louder than any amplifier. It felt unreal. How could someone so strong, so full of noise, vanish like that? His fans were crushed. The Latin American metal scene lost more than a player. It lost one of its bricks, someone holding the whole structure together. Can a scene still stand tall when its pillars are kicked down? Rodrigo wasn't a big celebrity, but in the underground he was a giant. He didn't smile for magazine covers, but he gave kids hope, kids who felt like misfits, kids who needed a sound that matched their anger. Rodrigo gave them that. His riffs were rage in music form. He didn't care about money or awards. He cared about the feeling, the truth behind every chord. He played like the world was ending, and maybe in some way, his world did. We still don't know who took him. We might never know, but the pain is real. The hole he left is wide. What kind of world lets its loudest voices be silenced without a trace? Even now, fans play his songs like prayers. They wear his shirts like armor. In clubs, in basements, in garages, his sound lives on. But every note comes with a shadow. Every scream carries a question. Why him? Why this way? Metal was his life. 20. Marios Karatsas. Marios Karatsas didn't smile for selfies. He wasn't made for Instagram or glossy posters. He was made for darkness, for noise, for rebellion. His band, Vomit Church, wasn't a name you said at dinner. It was the kind of band that scared parents and made neighbors complain. And that's exactly what he wanted. He lived underground, deep in the European scene where music wasn't just heard, it survived. Black and death metal were more than genres. They were lifelines for those who didn't fit in. Marios wasn't playing for fans. He was screaming for lost souls. What happens when the music that saves you becomes the shadow that finds you? In the year 2022, everything crashed. Marios got into a fight. Not a stage brawl, not a drunken joke, a real one. On the street, in Greece, someone hit him again and again, and Marios didn't get up. He died right there, beaten to death, while the world just spun on. The news hit hard. Not everyone knew him. But those who did, they felt the blow like a brick to the chest. Another underground hero, gone. Not from overdose, not from age, but from fists. A real dirty, bloody end. Marios didn't chase fame. He chased feeling. His music was loud, raw, and angry, just like him. He didn't care about rules. He lived in the cracks. He created chaos and turned it into sound. And maybe that chaos followed him off stage. His death wasn't some headline trick. It was cruelty, up close. A reminder that the world outside the show is just as dark as the songs inside it. Some say metal plays with fire, but Marios, he was burned by it. Is the danger just part of the show, or is the show a warning we never took seriously? People still whisper about what happened. The fight, the attacker, the silence that followed. No big trial, no loud justice, just a scream that faded. But his name didn't fade. Marios became part of the myth, the martyr, the one who lived and died by the sound. Now, in small clubs, in old recordings, in jackets patched with his band's name, Marios lives on, but his end stays with us. It asks questions we don't want to answer. It makes us wonder if all that rage and noise is sometimes too real.